Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. A little delayed start on this Friday, but we're here to give you 2 hours of power to close out the week strong. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, brother?
Doing well. Yeah, we're getting closer and closer. So we cross off a few more of these Football Fridays, and we'll be right back into it.
Yeah, 76 days away, John. 76 days away is the official countdown until the Philadelphia Eagles season kicks off. It's coming quick, everybody. So mark it on the calendar. 76 days. That's not very long. It's 2.5 months. So not too long there. We got a great show planned for everybody today, John. We got a new guest here on Birds 365. I'm looking forward to having Oscar Budajin. That's how you pronounce it, right? Budajin?
I believe so. It's funny because I just say Oscar. It's always one of those things. I've never called him by his last. Why would I? Well, he'll correct us if we're wrong, but that's what I'm going with.
There you go. I'll go with Oscar Budajin. So he'll join us in hour number 2. We got a great breakdown of plenty of other things here on Birds 365. We'll get into some good topics today as well. So let's do that now. Johnny Mac, let's start it off. I want to start it off today on Reed Blankenship, my friend. Reed Blankenship, we were talking about our position groupings. A couple days ago, we ranked the position groups, and you had safety ranked as the worst position group. And in that ranking, you mentioned Reed Blankenship and maybe even threw out a speculation that he could be signed before week 1. What do you think happens here with Reed Blankenship? What do you think the organization thinks of that player? Because with that room being weak, they did draft Sidney Brown in the 3rd round, and they did draft Drew Makuba in the 2nd round this past draft that just passed. So it's an interesting room with a lot of ways to go. What do you think on Reed Blankenship and the upcoming contract discussion with him?
Yeah, I when I ranked that position group, it had nothing to do with Reed Blankenship. He's the only certain part of it. He's the he's the foundational part of it. He's turned into a very good player. And the Eagles like him a lot. Leader of the secondary, as Vic Fangio explained, and that created one of the CJ dust-ups, which was kind of silly because, that was on Slay's podcast. And, if you listen to Slay, if you listen to Vic, he was already the leader last year, the on-field leader. Now, this, sort of the in the locker room leader was more of Slay, the team captain, but the nature of playing left corner, you can't communicate with the right corner. You're all the way over on, so it's got to be a safety. And it was already Reed Blankenship, and Slay kind of just let everybody in on that secret, which shouldn't have been a secret. And for whatever reason, CJ took it in a negative way. But getting back to Reed, he's a foundational piece of this team. The Eagles have this history of extending somebody a day or two, sometimes the day before the season starts. They've done it with Jordan Mailata in the past. I think that's going to be Reed this year, or it might be done before that. I mean, I don't think it's going to. Unfortunately for him, he is an undrafted free agent, so. That limits his, even though it shouldn't, it's just the reality of the situation. So, I think it's going to be one of the easier deals to get done, and I think the Eagles will get it done.
Yeah, where do you think that comes in? I mean, you bring up the undrafted free agent, and as good of a player as he's been, you do see how that affects players. Now, fans did not acknowledge that it does affect players, but Jordan Mailata has been to what was the stat we said the other day about how many all pro bowls Jordan Mailata has been to? So it's like
0.
Yeah, 0. So it's like it does have an effect. Where do you think that money comes in, John? I mean, you got Carter coming up. If Nolan has 10 sacks, is he a $25 million player? Where do you think the money with Reed Blankenship comes in? Because, boy, there's a lot of guys to pay on defense.
No, obviously, it's not in the Jalen Carter realm or even Nolan Smith projected going forward. But even if you look at the position, the guys, I think Kirby Joseph got the highest deal this offseason. He surpassed Antoine Winfield. So he's not in the category of being in the guy to set the markets like some of the other Eagles will be coming up. So if you look at the top safeties, the top 10 ends at 15 million per year. I think we'll come under that, probably in the 12, 13 range would be my guess.
Wow, that's high.
Well, not really.
I was thinking 8 to 9.
I mean, I would fight for 15. I think people don't look at what's going on in the league and how salaries have exploded. And the nature of contracts, you get more. I mean, and the salary cap's going up, so that factors into it. It's going up next year. This is going to be a multi-year deal. It's going up next year. It's going up next year. So all of a sudden, the minute you sign the contract, you're sort of depreciated. Yeah, I think that all harkens back. I think your thought process and all harkens back to the undrafted stuff, and people, for whatever reason, and that hurts those types of guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, 12, 13, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That would make him probably the 15th highest paid safety.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I would, if I'm his agent, I'd say, look, this guy's leader of Super Bowl winning secondary with the #1 passing defense. That's my argument.
How's he grade out, like on PFF?
He grades out well. He sort of went down a little bit last season. I'd have to look it up, but still well. Again, he's not in the category of those top guys, which is now Kirby Joseph. And
but is he above 15, 15, 16, 17th paid safety in the NFL? That's the question.
Oh, I think so. I don't think you could find 15 safeties better than Reed Blankenship right now. It's hard to, unless you want to go the route of Slay and Quinyon and Cooper are picking him up. But I think you saw the play starting in week 1, basically, when he saved the game with the diving interception in Brazil, or potentially clinched the game at least. Yeah, I don't. It's hard to break past that undrafted label for people to get you to believe in a guy. But what has Reed Blankenship done? And I ask that of not you, but everybody. What has Reed Blankenship done that has made you uncomfortable with him? Anybody out there?
Well, I don't think it's certainly not that for me. And I love the player, and I'd be happy to have him in Philly for a while if they got the deal done. I'm just looking at it from the business perspective of we've identified a demarcation line this year where you let guys or you trade guys like CJ Gardner-Johnson. I know there was other things there. I'm just saying they've clearly established that they have to be disciplined in decision-making on personnel. Does he fall well above that line? Is it a question? I think him and Jordan Davis are kind of a similar. I think they're going to pay him. I'm not sure they're going to pay. Like Jalen Carter, I know they're going to pay. If Nolan Smith produces, I know they're going to pay. I don't know that about Reed yet. I think they are, but I don't know it.
Well, I think where the Davis description may be on the field, but where that comparison goes off the rails is the 13th overall pick versus the undrafted guy.
That's true.
And that's Reed. The latter is obviously Reed's issue. And it's a different issue from a different perspective with Jordan. But yeah, I mean, so last year, as I mentioned, he was a little bit down, but he was late in the season. He was 29th of 98, which is still good. The year prior, ironically, he was 18th, and the year prior was 9th. He was top 10. So from the larger perspective of things, and again, I think you have to look at those grades in context and what happened. And he was playing, he slipped a little bit late in the season. Why? No, he had a couple injuries. um, but nothing serious. So you look at, playing 21 games and all that kind of stuff and all the snaps he plays. He's out there every play. He's out there every snap. This is the first time, by the way, in Reed Blankenship's young career where he didn't take every snap in minicamp and OTA. Before that, I remember coming into the 2023 season, I guess it was, where everybody was like, all right, who's going to be the starting safety? Who's going to be the starting safety? And Reed took the first snap in practice and never left. Never left. Literally every first team rep. So maybe the wear and tear, all that kind of stuff, but still a young guy, still an ascending player. The Eagles have him above that demarcation line, but part of that is, and they want to get him extended, but part of that is probably, to be fair, probably the belief that they can get him a little bit cheaper than they probably should because of the undrafted stuff.
Right. And where do you think that line would lie for the Eagles? Is it 13 million? Is it 10 million? Is it 15 million? Where do you think that line would be in the SAM where they would say, okay, I can't go there?
Well, it's definitely not. It's definitely 15. I don't think they'd go to 15. But if you look at Cam Bynum, who signed for 15 million in this offseason, exactly that number. Like Reed Blankenship's better than Cam Bynum. I mean, like if I'm Reed's agent, I'm fighting for 15. But I don't think he can get there. And that's part of winning.
Cam Bynum was a 4th round pick in the 2021 draft.
But Reed's better.
Yeah, I know. I was just looking it up because we've talked about, the pedigree of Reed and how that's hindering him a little bit potentially.
Yeah, and it will continue. And there's a bunch of guys in the top 15 that he's better than, but not a ton, but a few. And then you start. So I don't know where Reed is. I mean, he's not the type of guy that's going to create waves. He's not the type of guy who's going to go to his agent and say, I need every single penny, at least from my perspective, but maybe he is.
3 years, $39 million. You taking that if you're the Eagles, not Reed. I think Reed would take that deal. If you're the Eagles, do you take that deal?
Yeah, I got him right in 12, 13 million. And I think they want to, because that's very manageable from the way we talked yesterday about avoidable contracts. That will not be 13 million against the cap.
No.
That kind of stuff is very manageable. And I think they want to reward their own players. And you point, one of the reasons Sidney Brown's getting an opportunity, and True Makuba's getting an opportunity is because of their draft pedigree. But who are you more comfortable with?
Well, I think the answer to that is very obvious. But what about a scenario here where we go into training camp? Drew Makuba looks good by Vic Fangio's standards. Sidney Brown looks good by Vic Fangio's standards. Is Howie like, do we need to pay Reed Blankenship? Do you think is that plausible to happen, or has Reed been identified as he's going to be here? Like Jalen Carter, doesn't matter how good Ty Robinson plays. Now Jalen Carter is an extreme example. He's so damn good. But you get what I'm getting at. Has Reed earned that, or is it possible to shake, you think, if Sidney and Drew look good?
No, I don't see any scenario where they play to the level of Reed Blankenship. Certainly to enough to where they say we don't need him. And I think he's already past the crux of he's one of the guys they want back. But again, part of that baked in is they think they can get probably a better deal than they should. And they're probably right. They're probably right. It's tough with all those guys. all undrafted free agents to overcome that label. Because I mean, people still people's doubts with Reed Blankenship have nothing to do with football. You'll hear people talk about him, and they'll talk about, well, is he athletic enough? That kind of nonsense. Is he? You know, sometimes they miss scouts. Sometimes they miss. And what you know, one of the things he was like he's also a leader. He's the leader in the locker room. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a team captain this year to replace Slay. One of the things, you know, you get labeled for, especially when you play at Middle Tennessee State, which ironic, you know, Kevin Byard played there. You know, so they've done some good jobs developing safeties. But he played for 5 years, and he's a 5-year starter. And all that, the mentality is, why are you staying 5 years in college if you're good enough? Why aren't you going to the pros? And right from the get-go, you're like labeled. And then you look at the athleticism stuff, and he's, you know, 6 foot, 203, and he runs a 4.55. It's pretty good for a safety, over 205 pounds. You know, I go back to Adam Thielen. Nick Sirianni talked that. So I lived through Adam Thielen. I lived through John Randall. It happens. But it's really difficult for those guys to break through on the business end and get and shake that label. Eventually, when you make it to the Hall of Fame, you shake that label like John Randall. And, you know, I always bring up that quote from Nick. He's like, when I asked him about tryout players in rookie camp, he's like, you know, you only have 2 days with them. You only have a very short window. How do you get a good beat on him? And his first question is, it's like, just don't miss Adam Thielen. Meaning, you know, if somebody stands out to the degree, you know, give them a chance, give them an opportunity. And that was Reed. And that's what we were talking about. Taylor Morin with BLG. He's a little regarded undrafted free agent this year. But the Eagles need a punt returner. And guess what? Britton Covey's gone. They don't want Cooper DeJean to do it. We all know Cooper can do it, but they don't want him to do it. Nia Smith hasn't developed any trust. Avery Williams can't get on the field. The same thing, if you go back to when Britton got here, the same thing happened. Well, he's too small.
Right.
The story of, you know, his first preseason game, they wouldn't let him into the players' parking lot because they didn't believe he was a player, which was a true story. And I think about, and everybody's like, oh, this guy's got no shot. And there he is leading the league in punt return average a couple years later. Yeah, why can't that be Taylor Moore? And he did the same thing. He played a long time at Wake Forest. He's their all-time leading receiver. He was one of the best punt returners in the country. Why can't that happen to him?
It could. It could. Taylor Moore in love today on a football Friday.
Well, I mean, sometimes they miss with undrafted.
No, you're
guys.
right.
And Reed Blankenship, they missed.
Absolutely.
He should have been drafted, and he wasn't. And he's turned into one of the top 20 safeties in the NFL.
Sometimes I think the system too creates misses. Like he went to Middle Tennessee, you know. So was it the scouts that missed him, or was it the whole process where he didn't get recruited early, didn't go to a Power 5 school, doesn't get in front of the right scouts as much as, you know, he would have if he went to a different school, and then, you know, kind of everything took a domino effect, and then he ends up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's harder, but at these days they usually find you. I mean, Kevin Byard was a 3rd-round pick, you know, going to Middle Tennessee. You know, it's not, you know, Middle Tennessee isn't small enough to where they're not looking at it.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, Alex Hunt, they found at freaking Houston Christian.
It's true. It's a good point.
All
right, so predict the Reed contract. What do you think it would be? 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
I think 12, 13, 3 years. somewhere in that range.
So around that 39 million mark. I don't know what the guarantees would be, maybe 26, 25, 30 million, somewhere in that range, probably.
Yeah, and I still expect it to get done before the start of the regular season. But, hey, to your point of if Makuba and Sidney Brown start to look like Ronnie Lott, all right, things change quickly. But I don't see that happening.
Yep. John, you mentioned how Darius Slay talked about Reed Blankenship as a leader last year, and it's evident that he's really stepped into that role. You even just mentioned that you wouldn't surprise you if he was a captain on the football team this year. Post departure of Slay, at 26 years old, outside of Adoree Jackson, who's not slotted to start right now, Reed Blankenship will be the oldest guy in that secondary at 26. He just turned 26 in March. All right, you got Cooper, you got Quinion, you got Makuba, you got Sidney Brown. I mean, all of those, Keely Ringo, all these young guys. How does his role change now coming into this year, do you think, on the football field?
On the field, it doesn't change much at all. I mean, he was, like I said, he was the leader last year. He'll be the leader this year. And he's just going to get better. And it's sort of like Zach Bond was saying on Cooper and Quinion, not Quinion, Cooper and Reed's podcast. They're more comfortable this year. They're miles ahead. Whatever, I forget the phrasing Zach used, but miles ahead of where they were last year, and that's because they were learning what Vic wanted. So for the guys here, it should be easier for them. Now it's hard to live up to the number one pass defense. Everybody's got to, that's got more to do with execution. But as far as understanding the defense, yeah, it's only going to get better. And he's a very smart player to begin with. So that's very, that's something that Big is very cognizant of, guys with high football IQs. And that's another thing about playing 5 years in college. A lot of times it's viewed as a negative. Sometimes it's a positive because you know how to play. That's why I bring up Britton, who played 6 years in college, and Taylor, who played 5 years in college. They know how to play. Whereas, guys who don't have as much experience, like Cameron Williams, started 1 year. People are saying, well, maybe he'd be a first round pick. You don't know how to play yet. Keely Ringo, it's off the charts from a physical perspective. Right. And you saw before that draft, there were people who had him in the first round of the draft because of his physical gifts, but he barely played. And he didn't know how to play, and he had to be taught and developed, and hopefully it pays off this year for the Eagles. But so sometimes playing all that college football, and Reed was a long-time starter. I think he was a 5-year starter. He knows he got here and he knew how to play. And that's what they noticed. First off, he's always in the right position. He's the third string safety, barely getting any reps, and he's slowly rising up. And none of us had him on those goofy spring 53-man projections. Nobody was like, he's got no shot. He's got no shot. And all of a sudden, by year 2, he's taking every rep at every practice, never mind game. So, yeah.
How much do you think the loss of C.J. Gardner-Johnson affects Reed, or not at all?
Well, we have to, that has more to do with the other guy, as Vic would say, than anything else. Yeah, I mean, that the other guy's probably not going to be nearly the playmaker that CJ is. On the other hand, maybe they're a little bit more disciplined. So maybe that makes it a little bit easier on Reed. So it depends what you look at. But if you're looking for big plays, and most people, let's be honest, most people are worried about big plays and splash plays and highlights. And you're probably going to have less highlights without CJ. is how I would describe it.
Yeah, which I don't think is a big deal. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, what do you think of that overall age, man? You've been around a lot of football teams. You've covered this game for a long time. You've covered this team now for, I think, going on almost 10 years now, since you came here to cover the Eagles. Is this too young? I mean, I think they're one of the youngest teams in the league. I think someone in the chat there puts it, I don't know if this is correct, around the fourth youngest team in the league, maybe average age is 26. Now, this comment is also correct. The war of attrition is won by the young. And now that's true. But any concern that you've gone young, but maybe too young?
A little bit, but not much. I mean, if you look at guys like Reed and Jordan Davis, I mean, people gravitate towards them. So I think leadership is more about connecting with people. And the Eagles were lucky enough to have, it wasn't because Brandon was old and Slay was old. They connect with people.
Right. I think experience has a factor too.
Well, experience, I mean, demonstrated performance. You can't be a leader if you stink.
Obviously.
I mean, but they're good players as well. So they're young, but they have some mature youth. Jalen, we always joke, Jeffrey Lurie called him the most mature 25-year-old he ever met, which, now he's 26, but yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts is incredibly mature for his age. And he's the on-field leader of the entire team. Saquon's very mature and very humble and which surprises me. I talk about that all the time.
Very vocal too, Saquon.
He's not that vocal, really.
Oh, really? I feel like I watch the unscripted, and he's always, walking by. Let's go, stay in it, and it's good. I like it, but I feel like
I wouldn't say like I'm gonna like Brandon and Slayer. Like,
that might be a different level.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, so that's what I kind of compare it to. He's more understated. AJ's a leader, but in a different kind of way. Everybody's just in awe of him, that type of thing. And
I agree. He's in pursuit of excellence, and I think everybody around him watches him, and that's how he leads them.
Yeah. So, and then you have the Lane, obviously, and Landon, Cam, Jordan, probably Jordan more than anybody. Jordan's probably the most vocal leader now. That's amazing. Everything about Jordan Mailata is amazing.
Yeah.
He's probably the most vocal leader, I would say, on the team now that BG and Slay are out. I would say that is his mantle. And then defense, where they're really young, like Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, and Reed Blankenship are just natural leaders. Like, people gravitate towards them. And they're all back. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. But Slay and BG are unique people. So I think it's also going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes or no, Johnny Mac? Reed Blankenship will have a better year this year than he had last year.
Yeah, I think he will, because I think that was his worst year as a NFL player.
Even with the number one defense around him, though.
Yeah, but he didn't play poorly, but he just played, and maybe that was more, responsibility as well in Vic's defense, and he's going to get better understanding that. Yeah, so he didn't have a bad year, but he was just, when he was forced into it as a rookie, he played really well, shocked people. Second year was, one of the best safeties in football again, even though, and really they're only sort of cognizant. I think people forget, like, he was the guy, he was not playing in the playoff game, which was a big issue, real big issue. And they had to play Avonte Maddox at safety.
Right.
Was a really big issue. So yeah, I think he will have a better season because just of being more comfortable And he's got a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah, I think it's grown a lot. I mean, I know the on-field stuff is going to be a lot of the same, but I do think, I mean, he's the oldest guy in the secondary. I think people are going to be looking to him to be the anchor in that secondary.
Well, he was already that. That's what I said. It doesn't change. He
Yeah,
was
but there
already
was
that.
a little bit. There was other variables that offset some of that. I'm not saying he wasn't the anchor, but it wasn't all on him. All the pressure wasn't pulling on him. I think more of it is now.
Well, I think. I mean, he was the leader, the on-field leader of the secondary last year. He'll be the on-field leader of the secondary this year. As far as playmaking, that comes, that comes in the flow of the game, and it's not like they need him. Like I think because I hate over-unders and things like over-under 4 interceptions. Reed Blankenship. Well, like you can't project shit. Like, yeah. Well, how are games going? How are things going? How are I'll tell you this: if he thinks he's got to make more plays because CJ's not here, he's going to piss Vic the fuck off. It's like, do your job.
A little epic football Friday, Johnny Mac.
Well, because I think that's how way too many people look at it. Like, whoa, you're losing CJ. He's got to do more from a number standpoint. I go, that's the best way to get in Vic's doghouse.
Yeah. Start getting out of position and making undisciplined plays. I don't expect Reed to do that. I think early in his career, maybe a couple times he got caught there, but overall,
everybody gets caught. It's the NFL, man.
I think he's really become a sound safety, though, very sound in his role.
I was talking when G was on last year, Gary Cobb, and I'm glad he said it because I get, Jordan Mailata got ran over by Jared Verse or Nolan Smith got. Fucking everybody gets their clock cleaned. I'm cursing a lot this morning because I'm like, if you play in the NFL from Myles Garrett on down, Myles Garrett has gotten his clock cleaned in the NFL.
That's hard to believe.
Doesn't happen often. Doesn't happen often. And when he's here, I'll try to ask him that question.
Yeah, I was gonna say they got the joint practice here in Philly. I'm excited for that.
Doesn't happen often, but it happens because if you don't, it's all just a leverage thing. And if you get off balance, and there's another, in the case of Jordan Mailata, 380-pound man, and you're off balance, good luck.
You're toast.
You're going for a ride.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that happens to everybody. Everybody.
No doubt about it. John, you don't think they're going to add a safety, right? I mean, you mentioned just that you mentioned it was the worst position group when we did our ranking. You don't think they're adding?
No, I think they're very hopeful over Drew Makuba and Sidney Brown. Well, probably in Vic's case, Drew Makuba more than Sidney, but in Howie's case, both. And if they show, I think that's a position that if they show up in training camp and it becomes evident to Vic that, all right, they're not ready yet, then, and Justin Simmons is still out there.
I got Justin Simmons name fatigue.
I know. Well, and the same thing with Alexander. Till he signed, it was always going to be a thing.
Yeah, but that was at least a little shorter lived. I feel like I've been hearing about Justin Simmons for years.
Well, it has been years because, he was a free agent last year, and he has the history with Vic. And, he's been on podcasts with Kay Adams, lobbying basically to play with Vic. So, I mean, that's a situation that makes sense from a lot of people's perspective. But, from the Eagles, and again, I point to what they've done this offseason. Don't listen to what they say. Listen to see what they do. 12 free agents, all got 1 year, all less than $3 million. They have rebooted things, preparing for the future. And then the other part is, again, you talked about the youth. You talked about Justin Simmons will be 32 during the season in November. He's a descending player. It's just not what they want to do. They're forced to do it. But they have enough youth and guys with upside to say we can wait, and if things go in a poor direction, we can.
I'm going to go on record and say,
and by the way, remember Cooper's a big part of this as well, because
that's huge. Yeah, it's true.
If everything falls apart, they could play Cooper at safety. They can play Cooper. That's their belief in Cooper DeJean.
Have you ever heard the song, John? Cooper DeJean is not a safety. Have you heard that on social media?
I have not.
What? You and silly. And neither of you have heard this song. It's like every time Cooper DeJean made a play last year, it was posted all over the place. But no, yeah, we'll see. I think he is a big part of it for sure.
Cooper's whatever the Vic decides he is.
Yeah. You got to listen to it. I got to send you. You got to listen to the Cooper DeJean song. He's becoming a star, Johnny Mac, in Philly. I love it. It's good stuff with him. Let's get to some super chats. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. We got Oscar Budajin coming up in about 15 minutes here on Birds 365. John, he's the voice of the Eagles in Espanol, in Spanish, right?
Yeah, he and Ricky.
So he's the color commentator on the Spanish broadcast?
Yeah.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Great dude. Everybody likes Oscar. And I imagine the listeners will like Oscar as well.
Yeah, he just emailed me back. So he's confirmed, ready to rock and roll in about 15 minutes. So we'll be getting Oscar Budajin. Again, I want to thank you all for being here. Hit that like button, guys. We've been crushing it on Birds 365 for the offseason on the like department. So it's one of the best things you can do to just keep the viewership coming for us and help us grow as a show and as a channel. So thank you all very much. Hit the like button for us. Let's get up to 100 to 150 today for a Football Friday. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. We cover the Eagles all day long here, all year long. So we appreciate each and every one of you. Let's get to some super chats now. Fly Parks checking in. What's up, Fly? J-Mac, been seeing good reports on Mac McWilliams. What's your take?
Yeah, it's McWilliams, Mac McWilliams. He did look pretty good at minicamp. Again, it's one day. And they started that was the first time we only saw 3 practices over the spring. And he played outside corner. A lot of people project him inside, but he played outside corner in college for the most part, the vast majority of time. But he's a little bit undersized, so the long-term projection by most when they were scouting him was as an inside player. And the Eagles started him outside, which typically that's what Vic does. He starts you where you're most comfortable, so they start him outside. And I thought it would be till training camp before they started cross-training him, but they put him in there in the slot during the minicamp practice. And he looked pretty good. He looked, I don't want to overstate it, but I think he's going to be the 5th corner on the team behind the 3 starters, which will be Quinyon and Kaylee Ringo, I think outside, Cooper inside. And then Adoree Jackson will be the Isaiah Rodgers of the mix. But, even more so with more versatility, because Adoree can play inside and outside. So you probably get more experience, more versatility. I don't know if he's going to play as well as Rodgers did, but
you think that's it for Eli Ricks? Is he on the outs?
Well, not necessarily, but he's probably going to be the 6th corner again if he makes it. And again, his 3rd season. At what point do you? I mean, what is the point? He doesn't play special teams that much or that well, so. To me, this is a make or break year for Eli Ricks. He's got to prove that, maybe he's better than Mac McWilliams and Adoree Jackson. Otherwise,
could be it.
Well, I mean, he's still on his rookie deal, but
could be it in Philly.
I think there was a thought process after his rookie season, and he made the big interception in the preseason game against a 4th-string quarterback, that this guy could turn into something. Because again, we talk about pedigree. His pedigree was 5-star recruit. His pedigree was LSU. His pedigree, this might be a 1st-round pick. Going into his final year in college when he transferred to Alabama, this might be a 1st-round pick. And then he ran a 4.6 whatever and didn't get drafted, but he's got pretty good ball skills, and I think that resonates with people. Plus that pedigree, and there was the hope that he would turn into the player he was supposed to be at college. But if you run a 4.6 and play corner in the NFL, it's going to be tough to put you on the field a lot.
Yeah, it's true. Fly, thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate it. Here's Kimberly checking in. What's up, Kimberly? IQ matters. Nolan was a mathematics major at Georgia. I think he started in engineering and then went to mathematics.
He's a smart dude.
Yeah, real smart. Him and all the him, Nakobe. A lot of smart dudes on this team, John.
Yeah, Nakobe, I think, was the
engineer. Yeah.
I
think Nolan started in engineering and then went to mathematics. I don't know where I read that, but I read that somewhere.
Yeah. But to me, it means more with Nakobe because Nakobe's at a cerebral position, right. Like Reed and Nakobe run the defense on the field when they're out there. Whereas pass rusher, just go get the court, basically. So but it's a little bit more complicated in Vic's defense because you do have to drop occasionally, and you do have some other responsibilities. So it never hurts to have a high football IQ, and Nolan's got a very high football IQ, and so does a bunch of guys. So it never hurts, but to me, it's more like middle linebacker. You want a smart guy, free safety. You want a smart guy, and that's what the Eagles have.
Yep. No doubt about it. Do you agree with this comment? It's not a super chat. I'll get to my next super chat, but Sonny Bucket says, I seen more out of Ricks in that preseason than I ever seen out of Ringo, to be honest. I don't know if he's wrong.
Well, he saw a pick six. That's what he saw. But, I mean, what is the context of that pick six?
Yeah, right. I thought did he do anything else? No? Not really?
No, not really. But he does have good ball skills. But, I mean, like, that's a silly statement. No offense.
But comp it to Keeley, who was also playing in the preseason.
Well, again, Keeley's played in NFL games and has been one of the best gunners on special teams in the NFL. What has Eli Ricks given you in an actual NFL game?
Yeah. No, nothing. Well, he did play a couple of games, right? Like early.
He played some in the nickel, and by the way, that was unfair because he's not a nickel. But they had to run through. They had so many injuries when he was a rookie.
Says he clamped up Tyreek Hill.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Come on, Jesus Christ! Do you think? And I'm sorry for bringing. Do you think if he could clamp up Tyreek Hill? Do you think he wouldn't be playing? I mean, what gets in the fans' minds?
Like, come on, Joe.
Because he locked him up on one play. Again, they're NFL players. I mean, what? So you're presumably you have one play in your head where he clamped up in your mind. You have no idea what the defense is, no idea if it's zone coverage, man coverage, what it is. I guarantee he's not running with Tyreek Hill. There's Olympic sprinters that might have a tough time running with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, right.
What I mean, and if he could do that, why isn't he playing? Forget about this year.
He says one hit wonder, but it happened.
Yeah, one hit wonder is right.
Joe, good stuff. One more super chat. Alfredo says
that was not good stuff. Do not say that. That was not good stuff.
Not good stuff. Alfredo says, did you see the new unscripted? Read extension soon. I don't know what happened. I didn't see the new unscripted.
I haven't seen it, but yeah, it's coming. I mean, it's coming. There's no doubt it's coming.
Dro, bad stuff. Bad stuff, Dro.
He locked down Tyreek. What are we doing?
Oh man, Johnny Mac, you're funny. All right, Johnny Mac's got some humor to him on this football Friday. All right, let's get to our commercial break. We got Oscar Buttigieg coming up. looking forward to talking to Oscar. Should be a great segment. Always love getting a new guest here on Birds 365. And we're getting the voice of the Eagles and Espanol. So looking forward to doing it with Oscar. That's coming up next here on Birds 365. Hit that like button for us. We'll be right back.